The great thing about Metallica, when they make a decision, they commit fully to it.
Get some big fat drums in there and put just layers of massive rhythm guitars.
That is exactly the kind of thing that blew the doors wide open.
It's the simplest song we've ever written.
And you can't really go wrong with raw human emotion.
They were guys that changed my life.
Enter Sandman had been in my lyric book for about 100 years and no one liked it. We yanked it out again and saw a little more to it this time.
I was all fired up and I said to myself, I'm gonna write a really heavy riff that's heavier than anything. No, I didn't say that.
Few bands have reshaped the sound of modern metal like Metallica. They pushed heavy music into the mainstream, and it was Enter Sandman that lit the fuse.
We realized that we needed a little more thickness in the sound, a little more muscle.
James started singing rather than yelling.
Say your prayers, it's a one. Don't forget my son, to include everyone.
Released in 1991 on the Black Album, Enter Sandman is a showcase of tension, power, and precision. And right at the center of it all is Lars Ulrich.
This is Lars Ulrich, greatest metal drummer of all time.
From the iconic tom intro to the explosive groove that follows, Lars' drums are the engine that drives every moment of this track. Without his vision and energy behind the kit, Enter Sandman wouldn't be what it is today. Join us as we dive into the genius of Enter Sandman. The main riff was born in the middle of the night. Hammond originally played the riff much faster than what we hear on the album, but producer Bob Rock wanted to slow it down to give it more of a sense of groove. Lars even had a hand in writing the final version of the iconic riff.
Play the original riff, Kirk, that you came up with before you even showed it to James.
And then he came up to me and said, repeat the first part 3 times and then play the chords afterwards, or 4 times, whatever it is.
How long to write this song? Do you remember writing it?
It took a while, because I think the original lyrics for this were about something else. It was about family, but...
What was it about, Lars?
It was about a dysfunctional family, really.
Right. My recollection was it was about crib death.
Crib death?
Lars and Bob Rock suggested he rewrite it into something more universal. That's how they got the idea of A Child's Nightmare and the now iconic Sleep with One Eye Open line.
Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight.
Though it went on to become the band's most successful record to date, the Black Album did receive some backlash from diehard fans who were used to Metallica's signature thrash sound.
It pioneered and influenced so many drummers.
In an interview with MTV, Lars once explained that when you go from making 10-minute songs that travel between 10 different musical landscapes to songs like Enter Sandman, it's no secret that people will point to you and go, "Oi, what's going on here?" I know deep in my heart and soul that it was the direction we wanted to try and go, the only thing we hadn't explored.
I understand that Lars was trying to do some different stuff back then, and I commend Lars for having that mindset and going into it like that. So I think Enter Sandman's one of those it's one of the most legendary songs of all time.
A huge contributing factor for this change of pace was the introduction of legendary producer Bob Rock, who had gained notoriety for his work with The Cult and Motley Crue in years prior.
He was hands-on. He went in there and he got down with us. We jammed all the time together. It was really cool.
Keep the dynamics kind of cool on the hi-hat, though.
I think we kind of all fessed up to the fact that we just needed to bring somebody else into our tightly knit organization and work with us in the studio.
Their sound was way developed before I was ever involved in Metallica, you know. I think I've been actually dubbed as the guy that ruined Metallica.
In fact, it was the drum sound on Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood that served as one of the main reasons Bob Rock was hired by Metallica for the Black Album.
Dr. Feelgood and the Black Album are my 2 favorite, drum sounding albums. I feel like that's like our new, from my generation, that's like our classic rock now song, it's just like timeless because it's that good.
You can't engineer and do it, so I started on Dr. Feelgood working with Randy Staub. So Randy and I started showing up and we did what we've been doing.
Bob Rock really roped them in for that album and really streamlined their sound. And what Lars plays on Enter Sandman is just so perfect.
The result was a perfect blend of psychological horror and arena-level power. Tracks were laid down at one-on-one recording studios in Los Angeles, and the rest is history. Lars starts off by playing some open hi-hats on beat 2 and 4 in the intro section, with a few 16th notes thrown in halfway through. And then we're into the classic Enter Sandman tom groove. He's playing straight 8th notes on the floor tom, quarter notes on the kick drum, and moving between the 3rd and 4th rack toms with the left hand. You'll notice he adds in those accents with the crashes and occasional snare hits, giving it this unpredictable feeling which helps build tension through the intro part. Moving through this section, he sticks with the same groove, but he starts adding in the snare drum at the end of each bar to change things up. Now, I remember learning this song when I first started out behind the kit, and I know how challenging it can be to learn and practice parts like these when you're just starting out. And because of that, we wanted to film a full breakdown of Enter Sandman that includes this tom groove we just covered, the open hi-hat groove, and the famous drum fills later in the track so that you can start playing this song confidently on your own kit. We've also done these breakdowns for other songs like Stairway to Heaven, Chop Suey, Tom Sawyer, Numa, and many others. I'd love to see you there and help you learn these songs, and you can click the link in the description to try them all for free over on Musora. This is classic Lars Ulrich. Wide open groove with the snare on 2 and 4, the kick locking in with the guitar rhythm, the hi-hats wide open, and a crash cymbal hit on the end of every few bars, which is a signature move on this track. This groove repeats through the verse and chorus sections, but at the end of the choruses we hear Lars change it up a bit, and he throws in a cymbal choke, signaling a bar of no drums right before launching back into the main groove. Lars also outlines some feel changes in this song like we hear in the pre-chorus. He stays on the open hi-hats, but he switches to a halftime feel like this. Then we get into the bridge section and Lars drops back into the intro tom groove you learned already. He also adds in more snare drum hits, more crashes, and fills that weren't in the intro. It's like we're returning to the beginning, but this time with more intensity. Eventually, after the final chorus, there's another big dropout. The whole band disappears again. Then they return for the outro, and it's massive.
You don't have to be a drummer to want to play drums to it. Like, it's like you hear it and you like want to get involved. Like, I know people who don't have any interest in playing drums that would listen to that for the drums.
Now it's time to dive into some of the drum fills that Lars plays throughout the song.
Randy Razorblade, a brilliant engineer. He would then basically sit and like cut the tape together. You know, that way you find the bits that have the most spunk and the most vibe and the most attitude to it. We have about 250 fills for this song.
First, we're going to look at what Lars plays going into the guitar solo. He's playing a crash cymbal on the end of beat 4 and then alternating between the kick drum and flams on the snare. The next one is subtle, and it actually didn't jump out at me until preparing for this video. Midway through the guitar solo, Lars is playing an open hi-hat groove, and then he adds in the second rack tom while he keeps the groove going. While we don't know exactly how Lars played this in the studio, we're pretty confident that Lars kept the hi-hat going with the right hand and brought his left hand under the right hand to play that second rack tom. Moving to the bridge, Lars plays a cool 16th note fill starting on the first rack tom, and then he moves over to the 3rd and 4th toms. It's It's actually one of the few times he uses the first rack tom in this song. And finally, we get to the outro, and funny enough, this is probably the most difficult part of the entire song to play. He plays some 16th note fills between the snare and the second rack tom. Lots of offbeat crash and China accents. And he starts to incorporate a mix of toms 2, 3, and 4 in the groove throughout this section. The song starts to fade out as you get closer to the end, but some of the coolest drum parts happen during the fade. During the Wherever We May Roam tour to support the Black Album, Lars famously used his signature white TAMA kit. There's tons of great footage of Lars playing that kit, and it's become one of the most famous drum setups of all time.
We kept the black hardware, drums are white, still doing the extra hi-hat over here, and I think the sizes here are actually one notch up. I think this may actually be a floor tom that's hanging here.
But what often gets overlooked is that Lars actually used the Gretsch USA custom kit in the studio to record the Black Album, as seen in the 1992 Metallica documentary, A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica. He had two 24-inch kick drums, 12, 13, 14, and 16-inch hanging toms, and one 18-inch floor tom. The only TAMA gear he had on his kit was an 80s TAMA 14x6.5 bell brass snare. Based on the documentary, for heads it looks like he was using Remo clear pinstripes on the toms, a controlled sound snare head, and clear Power Stroke 3s on the kick drums. He also had a full set of Zildjian cymbals, though there's footage from the Black Album session where you can also see him playing a pair of Sabian hi-hats too. For this video, we've got Lars's configuration built using my Gretsch Broadcaster shell bank, a full set of Istanbul Agop cymbals, and Remo drum heads.
It wasn't like anything that you heard on old heavy metal records. It wasn't like anything on the radio.
When Enter Sandman came out, it was a huge success. It was Metallica's first big crossover hit, peaking at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it propelled the Black Album to sell over 30 million copies worldwide.
Metallica rules! Metallica is heavy!
What's up, Metallica? Need a lift?
We don't take rides from strangers.
I'm no stranger, remember this? Metallica rules!
It's pretty amazing to hear how Lars and Enter Sandman have influenced so many of the world's greatest drummers.
Lars is my favorite drummer of all time. He's the reason I play drums. He's the GOAT. Lars, what can you say?
The guy really did influence like a whole generation of metal drummers.
Don't come at me with that Lars hate. I'm a Lars fan, dude. When I heard One as a kid, I was like, oh, shit, you know? I mean, Lars is dope.
Lars is amazing. I love Lars for so many reasons, but the fact that he made Master of Puppets, I mean, come on, Master of Puppets is like one of the greatest metal records of all time.
To me, what I love about being a creative artist is people who have their own personalities and identities, and that's Lars Ulrich. When you listen to Metallica, even if it's a isolated drum track, you immediately know who it is.
People slag on Lars, and I tell people you are out of your mind. It's so hard as a drummer to define a sound. I can only say we should all strive to be as unique as Lars Ulrich.
Lars is one of those guys where if you put any other drummer in Metallica, it would not sound like Metallica. Now, a lot of bands are like that. I tour a lot with my band, and I'll be in freaking Zimbabwe or South Africa, and Enter Sandman comes on the radio, and you just see everybody like, it's just got that groove, that feel, and it just lifts everybody up. I love it.
I think what he's developed as a musician for that band, it would be really weird to hear any other drummer playing Metallica.
Much like Ringo is the Beatles, Lars is Metallica. I love Lars's playing. He was a huge inspiration to me when I was coming up. He's one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. He's really, really, really super cool, loves art, loves
music. We usually talk about movies. We never talk about drums ever.
I'm always like an Enter Sandman girl. I don't know why. I just love that track. That's always been like my Metallica track. Lars is great. I mean, it's Metallica.
He's one of my big drum heroes. Always has been such an influence on me. Less is more. There's a time and a place for it. And Metallica at that time and place was ready for the big time. And they streamlined their sound and their composition. And Lars really just laid into the pocket. You know, obviously it paid off times 100 because they ended up becoming the biggest band in the world.
That song just ripped our heads off. The production, his drumming is f***ing on point on that one. Powerful, you know, tasty, plays for the song. That's what I love about Lars, you know what I mean? His style is also evolved and it's just changed every record, so can't slag the guy, man. He knows his shit. He's a great songwriter, and when that record came out, it was a game changer, that's for sure.
That was the best sounding record I think I'd ever heard at that time, where it just, the tom part was just, you could just feel the low end energy, and that was definitely a huge part of my formative years of becoming a drummer.
I think they're fucking great. And I really like Lars. I mean, they're a band, you know. You don't have to be like this spectacular technician sometimes to really create and be an important part of what a band is. And I think that they're a good example of that. A lot of my favorite bands are like that.
That's their stairway to heaven. That's their approachable radio. Hey, we're almost like a pop band. Lots of eighth notes, incredibly constructed.
Lars is great. His accents, his unique style is so hooky, you know.
Actually, Metallica was the band who got me into drumming, and probably Enter Sandman was the very first song, or one of the first songs I ever played on drums. Lars' drum part in the intro and in the end with Tom's is totally iconic.
Just heavy, like they really turned a corner on that record for sure, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, what an iconic, badass, scary as hell drum part.
I mean, that's probably their big song. He wrote the book for that sort of drumming. He comes up with cool parts, perfect for the song. He's just a really good song drummer, plays what's right for the song. The perfect drummer for Metallica.
That song specifically was my intro to Metallica, like a lot of people my age. And that part, I mean, it's just so iconic. Also the Bob Rock drum sound, that snare drum sound, it's just like so iconic.
Well, there you have it, the genius of Enter Sandman. It's a song that's inspired countless people to get behind the kit and become drummers, and it's all because of Lars Ulrich. Now, before you go, make sure you leave a comment below and let me know one thing that you've learned from listening to Enter Sandman and Lars Ulrich's drumming. And also stay tuned for the next episode in the Genius Of series, where we're diving into A Love Supreme by John Coltrane, and we're going to look at what makes Elvin Jones' drumming on that record so important. And remember, we also have a full breakdown of Enter Sandman available on Musora, where you and I can practice all of these drum parts together, and lots of other songs as well. That's going to be available at the link down in the description, and I'd love to see you there. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
Yeah.